Welcome to the very first episode of what we're going to call Breaking Down the Long Game. Thomas, introduce yourself to everybody. This is your first video since you've joined RLS.
Yeah, well, I'm Thomas Coldman, new advisor at RLS here with Justin, and excited to get going on all this content.
So Thomas has a blog called The Long Game. We'll link to it below. You're not going to go, it's actually his name is the website. Somebody already had The Long Game. But anyways, he had a blog post last week, and what we're going to do is break down every one of his blog posts and kind of dive deeper in them to get more of the meaning behind it. It's great to have it written, but I think it's more fun to have a dialogue about it and talk about it some more. So last week you wrote about time being your most valuable asset. And my first thing I thought was, wow, at 24, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty young age to really value time. I feel like you don't really, if you look at the typical 24-year-old, they're not really thinking about time as an asset. When you have a family, when you have a business, you start to realize how valuable your time is. So what was it that led you to really understand the importance of time, managing it, having it at such a young age?
Yeah, I'd say two different things. I think one of them is growing up and playing sports. Kind of sports was my entire life. All we ever did was travel for basketball, and then I played in college for a year, and you don't really have a whole lot of time. All you're doing is basketball, working out, school. And so I really started to see the importance of using your time wisely and finding value in what you do. And then it also goes with my parents are probably the least materialistic people I've ever met, and they just drove home that time is the one thing that you're never going to be able to get back. And so use it wisely with the people that you love, which really for us is our family.
It's funny, my senior quote in high school, my dad had it on the refrigerator, and I don't remember who the actual person was, but basically, to the extent of what I remember, the quote was, time is your most valuable asset. Be careful of who you let and how you let people spend it. So not only is it your own valuable asset, your time can become other people's valuable asset as well if they're just sucking your time away from you. So it's kind of funny that in high school, I graduated in 2000, I had time as my high school quote, senior year quote. I didn't do anything cool, like there's people who quote Notorious B.I.G. and stuff like that. I did a dorky one, but here we are today, 20 years later, talking about time being most valuable asset. So thinking of your peers, what is it that you really want to drive home to them to think about and understand this sooner rather than later?
I think one big thing that you've actually helped me realize from starting out is that creating good habits early on is really important. So if you start to just give away your time, or you create bad habits where you're just not doing the things that you need to do, that's something that's going to be hard to get rid of at the end, versus if I can start on this today, use my time wisely, maybe it's get up and work out, that's going to be the most successful way for you to do it, then start that habit now before you go down the wrong path, and now you have to break a habit as well as start a new one.
And I'll tell you, when you really understand the value of time, you're not there yet, is when you start finding opportunities to buy back your time. So I hate cutting the grass. I pay to have the grass cut every week. It's a neighbor, so I don't mind giving the 15-year-old, he just bought a car, so I feel good about where the money's going, but that's an hour and a half of my time that I get back. Whether I want to spend that working, creating content with the boys, or just doing nothing, that's an hour and a half that I used to hate. Now some people like it, it's therapeutic, but for me I hate it. Getting the house clean. We don't do that because I can't get my wife to actually go pick a house cleaner. But
my family does it.
Another thing, like it seems crazy to think about paying somebody to do something that you're more than capable of doing it yourself, but you're paying for that time. And that's, we talk about privilege in our profession. It's a very privileged situation to be in, to where you can take your dollars and buy your time back. Not everybody can do that, but that's when you really, really understand, okay, I only have so much time during the day, and yes, I can do this, but I can pay somebody to do that, to free me up to go do things that either allow me to make more money, become more productive, enjoy more time with my family, or just have more time. And the cool thing about that is you are then therefore giving somebody else a living that they can go take care of their family. So it's a cool thing that the spiral effect of it is. But initially you get there like, okay, I don't have time to do this, I hate doing it, I'm going to outsource it to buy my time back. So that's the next level.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just having this conversation with my parents this weekend about like buying a house and whether I want to do it or not. And my biggest reason why I wouldn't want to is I don't want to have to take care of the grass, and I don't want a broken window, furnace, whatever it may be. I'm like, that is not part of something I want to do. So I'm going to continue to rent until I need to be in that situation.
That'll be a good blog post, and we can talk about that. There's a lot of great blog posts about renting versus buying, and whether or not buying a home is an investment in the way that we think it is, and it's not, but it's a good one, especially for young professionals. In the blog post, I really like the question that you posed, and I don't think you came up with this. I think I've heard it before, but it's a good question. So you said, imagine you're given the opportunity to trade places with Warren Buffett, one of the richest people in the world, most successful investors. Would you do it? Would you do it?
I wouldn't. And it's funny because I heard this somewhere and I tried to research to figure out like where did this come from, where did this idea come from, and I couldn't really find it. But I think when you first hear that question, everybody says yes. And then you start to think about, okay, well, you're in your late 80s, you might have a lot of money, but what do you really have to enjoy at that time? And so I thought that was just a really unique way to propose the idea that really time is more important than money, because if you'd rather have an unlimited amount of time, or at least a longer time span here to enjoy it, than a really short time span with as much money as you possibly could have.
Right. He's basically got unlimited money, but very limited time. Knock on wood, hopefully plenty of years ahead. But when you're already seeing him slow down as it is, I would answer the same way. Not only is it just from the time standpoint of being here longer, but also I don't need Warren Buffett money. Like nobody needs Warren Buffett money. So it just shows you that when we think about money being a great thing, we realize there is a certain point where more money doesn't necessarily make us happier, but more time would.
Yeah, because you start to see people that make a ton of money, but they never get to be their family. They never get to travel with them, and their family's up at their lake house, but they never get to be there. And it's, really, is it worth making that extra few $100,000s a year if you never enjoy any part of it?
Right. And on the flip side, I think there is too much time as well. You look at people who are extremely successful, they sell their business, they have all the money in the world, but now they don't have anything they're doing. They have all this time, but nothing to do. So I think that with many things, like in financial planning, many things, there's a good balance. So finding that balance between having enough time to have your personal life, your professional life, you'll grow the way you want to grow, but also having enough money to be able to, do the things you need to do and have a purpose. So any other closing thoughts about your post about time? So the total is time, your most valuable asset. Again, we're going to link to it. Make sure you follow Thomas's blog. But anything else we want to hit home on this?
No, I just really liked the part talking about how it is considered an asset. Like most people only think of assets as money, house, things that you own, but really time, in my mind, is the most important asset.
It's priceless.
Yeah.
You can't put a price on your life, which is basically the time you have left. So, again, breaking down the long game. Is that what I said we're going to call it?
Yep.
I'll have to double check it and make sure I edited it out right. But yeah, so breaking down the long game. We're doing this every week after Thomas's post comes out from the previous week, talking about it some more. Anything you want to hear him write about, any topics you're interested in, let him know, and I'll make sure that he does it, and we'll break it down in a video as well. So thank everybody for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. This RLS Wealth channel is going to be growing with content regularly now that there's two of us here to create it. So hopefully we'll be putting out a lot of content to educate, but also entertain and have a good time. So thanks for watching, and we will see you all in the next episode.